Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland. I'm your host Gimli, and tonight I'll be joined by, first up, he's our button monkey and dethroned ladies' favourite, it's Danny the GFP. Hello Danny.
Hello.
And how you doing? Why have you gone all gav on me?
I miss him. I miss him.
Oh,
My health is not in question. All praise the Mike Dickin, wherever you are. Bless him.
who?
Mike Dickin, radio legend, he died.
Is that Cockney rhyming slang?
No, it isn't. Jeff's probably heard of him.
No,
Maybe
don't think he
not.
has.
I've not been introduced yet. You know, what kind of show are we running
So
here?
officially, you're not even here.
No. Well, I can tell you haven't missed me as well. Well, that GC or from She-Bor or whatever his name is been on every week. What's going on?
I know.
Right, next up, a man that needs no introduction, so I won't give him one. It's Geoff Arsenal.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, I didn't know you were here tonight, Jeff. Hello, Mister.
Hello, mate.
So much better than GC.
Did you have a nice holiday, Geoff?
I had a fantastic holiday. Thank you very much. It was beautiful.
What's Afghanistan like this time of year?
Yeah, a bit hot.
Really? Lovely. I saw a picture of your missus. Very nice.
Hotties.
Lovely. She was indeed.
I thought you framed the background beautifully.
Yeah. Well, if she'd have caught me, honestly, I'd have got a right-hander for that. Believe me. Trust me.
We'd be speaking to the ghost of Geoff Arsenal.
Yeah, with a black eye.
Just another one of your accounts. Right. Next up, we'll go straight over to our grumpy Venezuelan. It's John. Hello, John.
Hello. Hi, everybody. How you doing?
I trust the Jack Daniels is flowing for you this evening.
As always.
And
I will be behaving tonight, though.
And are you grumpy as always?
Absolutely.
Well, we have a zero tolerance on swearing tonight, which we've only really had to explain for John, seeing as Gav can't be with us this evening.
Birds of a feather.
Right. Our next guest is on by popular demand. It's a goonerette and first time on this podcast. It's Ava. Hello, Ava.
Hiya, you alright?
Very well, thank you. Are you looking forward to being on the pod?
Obviously, yeah.
Oh, that's nice to hear. And we'll go straight over to our final guest, and it's a favourite of this podcast, and everybody enjoys it when this man is on. It's Mr. Patience himself. It's Mr. Tim Patience. Payton.
Good evening. So I did tell you, didn't I? 10 minutes to go. Well, it was a bit less than 10 minutes. An hour to go on the final day of the transfer window, and all the patience was rewarded.
See, you've only got to come on just to say I told you so to everyone.
No.
Are you accusing him of being a media lovey? Because he isn't. He wanted his own dressing room for this podcast, and he only wanted the green M&Ms.
I feel privileged since he's gone viral. Right, we'll start this podcast off by talking about the last two games since we last put something out, which was Stoke City Rugby Club at home and West Brom in the Cock. But before we do that, we'll go straight over to Danny for all the latest results from Arsenal across the board. Danny.
Can we import some kind of beep, 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 beep music for this?
I do believe someone said they actually wanted to hear Geoff read out the results one week.
Excellent. Well, I'll forward him this schnizzle that I wrote down in the space of 2 minutes because I forgot to do it.
Go on, boff then.
The under-21s haven't played a game since we last spoke, when they beat West Brom 1-0 at home 2 weeks ago. And their next game is tonight, and it's just gone half-time. So hopefully they're 12-0 up and they're playing Fulham. I think Fulham are the top of the league for the under-21s and the under-18s. I don't know what they're doing. I think it's because they've got to have Joel, Martin, Soul. They've got to have Soul, Joel. The under-18s lost on Saturday, again, 3-2 away at Middlesbrough. I mean, it's bad enough having to go at Middlesbrough, but losing as well depresses me. With a goal from our new Swedish wonder kid, Jamal... I can't even say his surname. We bought him in the summer for £200,000 from the team that Anders Limpar used to be. I think he was the assistant manager there or coach there or something. Bronken, Pjonken, Parken, Pjonken. Lena, if you hear that, Lena, and any of our other Swedish friends, I'm very sorry. And the other goal was by Kalen Hines, who has nothing to do with beans that we discussed earlier.
Hines means beans.
That's him. Their next game is on the 28th of September away at Bolton. And if anyone sees a postman there called Mick Dagger, give him a wave and tell him he owes me £12 for a few Dreamcast games back in the day. The ladies have also not played a game since they beat Birmingham 2-0 on the 15th. Their next game is the last game of the Women's Super League season. on the 29th of September, and they're away at Everton, but the game's meaningless because we can't finish any higher or lower than third, and so just a bit pointless, really. I suppose you've got to play it, blood a few youngsters, get it in there, get it done. Yeah, but a bit of a disappointing season for the ladies.
Said the actress to the bishop.
No, she didn't.
Carry on.
Yeah, so it's been a bit of a disappointing season because the ladies won the 2011 and the 2012 Women's Super League, the inaugural season and the second season. And this season, it's all been Liverpool. Liverpool have got the best team. They've got the best people up front. They've got, I think, a German woman as the top goal scorer. And then Bristol Academy, they're second in the league. And so Arsenal won't be playing in the Women's Champions League for the first time in God knows how many years, because only the top two play in it. So that's a little bit sad. So
sack the manager.
Well, I think the Women's England manager was Hope Powell. I think that was her. And now she's left after being manager for about 100 years. And so now the England are looking for a new team manager, first team manager. And there has been some talk of getting the Arsenal manager bloke, whose name I can't bloody remember. What's his name?
Vic Akers.
No, it's not Vic. Is it?
Well, he was, wasn't he? He was there for ages. I don't know about. I think he give up. Didn't he retire out of it last season?
Yeah,
is that right, Tim?
Arsenal wanted him to concentrate on the kit duties with the first team.
Kit duties.
There's nothing like living the dream, is there? You go, Vic.
Yeah, so,
he's been a kit man for as long as I can remember, though.
Come on, how much would you give to fold Jack Wilshere's underpants?
Nothing, actually.
Ava?
Absolutely nothing.
Apparently, looking at soccerway.com, it says the manager of Arsenal's team is Michel Kerr. Well, there you go then. That shows how up-to-date I was on that. I'm going to shut up now if I make any other glaring errors.
So, thank you very much, Danny.
It's a pleasure.
We'll now cover the first of last week's game, and seeing as Geoff's had a holiday, we'll throw him in at the deep end. So, Geoff, your thoughts on the Stoke game for us, please?
Stoke game was surprising, really, because I think we tended to outstoke them at times. You know, we battled on. The typical Stoke, they come with plenty of height and power, not too much pace. We tried to get our passing game got off, but you know, at the end of the day, it wasn't pretty. But I'm just delighted that we got the 3 points, and that was the most important thing, to keep the run going. And you know, played 20, won 17, drew 2, lost 1, as we currently stand, is a fantastic record.
No, definitely.
You know, they outpassed us. They had 51% possession to our 49. You'd never have predicted that going into a game against Stoke, would you?
No, exactly.
See, the one thing I don't ever understand about them lot, right?
There's a lot of things you don't understand.
How they have webbed fingers and toes is one of them. But anyway, that's for later on in the podcast. But one of the things I don't understand, Shawcross broke Ramsey's leg, yet they still boo Aaron Ramsey. What's up with that?
Oh, if only GC was here, he could tell us. You don't guess what the answer to that question is going to be.
Oh, we've said we're not going to swear this week, haven't we?
They're horrid human beings. Horrid.
So, Ven, what did you make of the Stoke game?
Well, Tim mentioned the possession being 49% for us, but I think in the second half, seeing the run of games that we've had over the last month, as far as having to play the playoff game, the whole bit, I just think the squad wanted to play a little bit of on the counter. So they invited that pressure more than, being out Arsenal, so to speak. But I enjoyed it. I think, we'll do better on set pieces. I think that's obvious with the addition of Ozil. And, winning ugly is something we didn't used to do. And we're finally doing it.
No, definitely. I think I'd agree with you on that. And Ava, was it nice to see Ozil come in with a hat-trick of assists that day?
It was brilliant. We were all waiting for that, I think. And to have someone like Ozil in our team is just amazing. He makes such an impression on everyone.
Yeah, I think what he can add to our team with assists this season would give us that little bit of a boost. And you can already tell by the way they're playing and the whole feeling around the Arsenal at the moment that his addition, I mean, it's just been amazing, hasn't it, Danny?
It has been. I see in a couple of places they've only given Ozil the 2 assists So I think there's a bit of a conspiracy going on. I've seen it on 3 different websites where he's only had 2, when in fact he's got a hat-trick of assists.
That's a bloody outrage.
I tell you what, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna write a stiff letter of complaint and get Gav to deliver it in the style of Strutter. He's gonna smash the place up.
Guys, do we think, Geoff? You played quite a high level. That Sanya header, that was a header back across the box, was it, that looped in, or do you think he was aiming that there right from the sort of moment he saw the ball coming?
Oh, you know what? Very difficult to tell, isn't it? I mean, has he claimed it? Has he declared that he meant
look
it?
how he celebrated, and it was his goal.
I don't think
off him, but I don't reckon it was a header at goal.
I think he was aiming for goal, but I don't think he meant it to the ball to go exactly where it went to. That way it did. I just think it was a defender's header to headed it towards goal, and I think he's met it a little bit early.
Yeah.
And it's come off the top of his head and gone over the top of the keeper rather than him, like looping it over him, so to speak, deliberately.
Yeah, we also saw the introduction of Serge Gnabry play that day. I mean, Ben, what did you think of how he did?
I think he did excellent. I mean, obviously you were going to always feel that he was going to come out a little hesitant in a home debut with the first team, but I think he was very conscious of not making any mistakes and tracking back properly. I think as he gets more integrated in the team, I think you'll see more from him.
And he took a massive whack as well. And it was nice to see him. He was obviously a bit dazed because Huth left the shouldering on him and just completely took him out. I mean, it was nice to see him get up and carry on. And I think he really, really did himself proud that day. Do you agree with that, Ava?
Absolutely. He's like 18 years old, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah.
No, he was very, very good. I mean, what other positives can we see from that game, guys?
Oh, I was going to say, I like the fact that Ryo, who was on loan at Feyenoord, not last season, but the season before that, if anybody wants to go to YouTube, just go and put Feyenoord and then Ryo, and you have a look at the amazing stuff that he did for that team that season. And that, for me, was a massive building block for him. So last season, I expected him to go back there or make a big impact in the team by coming on like he's doing now. But it's nice to see that he's a regular on the bench and he's getting some games, and he started yesterday. And I think the fact that he can play either wing because he's both footed, so Transfer Market says that he's twin footed, both whichever. He's ambidextrous with his feet. I think it's a good time for him to get some games on, and the speed that he has is brilliant. But one thing he doesn't have that Gnabry does have, which me and Gimli were talking about earlier today, was the fact that it was nice to see someone running down our right wing who gets clattered and carries on running. And that was absolute brilliant because Gnabry is a big old unit, and so I've got high hopes for him and Ryo.
Definitely. And Geoff, you were going to jump in and say something as well.
No, I won't, but I will do. I'm a little bit concerned about Rio. I think he's a little bit too light at the moment. I think he's suffering a little bit with his confidence. I've seen them YouTube clips, and he looked like a world beater in those, but I've not really seen that at Arsenal yet, and I think he struggled when he went on loan with Serge Gnabry. I think he's still very, very raw, isn't he? And I think it was a bit of a culture shock to him. At the weekend, I think he was a little bit starstruck, struggled a little bit, and you could see his confidence was draining away. But give him fair play to him. He carried on. He worked very hard, and he's a powerful unit. So if he can play a few more games, get his confidence up, I think and he's very, very well rated at the club. I know that for sure.
Those two positions you just mentioned, Geoff, I think that's going to be really interesting the next 2 or 3 weeks, because what Stoke showed for me is how important Theo is, even when he doesn't play well. Because Theo, their defenders pull back on Theo whether or not he's playing well because of that pace he's got. It opens up the midfield for us, and particularly with the passing range we've got now, it was all more congested. Part of the reason we didn't keep the ball and play it around was because we weren't creating more space on either side. So I am concerned that the impact Theo not being in over the next 2 or 3 weeks will have, especially the issue there's no one on the other side to do the equivalent in the same way. And the other thing Stoke showed me that they'll have to work on is if you've got Wilshere and Ozil, and it was Santi before, but they were getting in each other's way a bit, and the creativity wasn't flowing. Certainly in open play, you can go back to the set pieces. So 2 interesting things for Arsene to think about there going forward: how he replicates the way Theo stretched it, and who is going to be given the kingpin role of doing the creativity in the middle. And I suspect that, we may even see Jack given a bit of a rest in a few games coming up, because we'll have Arteta to come back in as well.
Yeah, and I say another, but there was a piece of controversy surrounding that game as well in the aftermath, which I don't know how true this is, but there was a rumour that the FA were going to look into some comments that Mathieu Flamini made that game to Mark Wilson. Am I right in saying that he turned around and said, "I will blind you"? Is it after Mark Wilson went in on Jack Wilshere for about the umpteenth time? And I think whether it's true or not, I think. But he made a bit of a threat. Now, what do we make of that, guys? I mean, Ava, is this something that we need to worry about? Do you think?
Not really, no. I think Flamini set that in the heat of the moment, sort of. And it's kind of nice to see a player who's so passionate about that, though I do think he needs to watch it. He doesn't need to do that with certain referees.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And I'm not sure if it's even true, so...
I was going to say, if the FA were going to charge, I think they have to do it within 24 hours of the referee's report arriving, so I think that's well gone as an issue.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, me and Danny were having a little bit of a chat about this earlier, because it was something that I think Danny brought up. And we both agreed that it was nice to see, although to saying that you want to blind someone isn't necessarily the nicest of things, it's nice to see that someone is in that team with a voice, they're fighting for each other. I mean, if it is true, I've got your back, you've got mine kind of thing. And it just shows a little bit of passion, so I wouldn't necessarily say it as a negative thing. I mean, Geoff, would you agree with that?
The stuff like that gets spoken about, and far worse as well on the football pitch during the course of a game, and it's forgotten at the end of the game. You haven't got to worry about stuff like that. It just goes on. It's all gamesmanship, and they're just trying to get someone's head, so to speak. I wouldn't even worry about it. It goes on every single week.
There's a thing I noticed about the Stoke game, looking at the lineup, I meant to say earlier, they had 10 different nationalities in their starting 11.
Did they?
Yeah, they. Walters plays for Ireland, but he's born in England, and Wilson was born in Northern Ireland, but plays for Republic of Ireland. 10 different national teams, which is something that, if that would have been Arsenal doing, they'd have made a big deal about it. Remember back in the day, it was all Arsenal and Chelsea, that, they've got no English people. I mean, we had 2 English people start the game, and only one other on the bench, but that's because most of our English players are dead or dying.
We all know where Mark Hughes is from, but none of us actually know what he is, so does that add to it as well?
Geoff, were you at the game many years ago when it was Chelsea v Arsenal, when Mark Hughes was playing for Chelsea, and we had Stephen Hughes, he scored 2 goals, and then we're all chanting, there's only one Hughes in London.
Oh, right, gotcha. No, I can't remember it.
It's a brilliant day, because Mark Hughes was meant to be the new Chelsea big signing at the end
of his
career.
I was most probably there. I can't remember it.
Yeah, it's good.
So we'll draw a line under this then, and we'll send our final question in John's direction. These are the kind of games that in previous seasons would have been a bit of a stumbling block to Arsenal. Possibly the chance of a draw, maybe even a loss. But I think it's nice to see that we can go out and, like you said earlier, we can play dirty or play ugly and win. What do you think, John, as to draw a line under this game?
Well, I mean, you got to take away the set pieces. You got to take away the manner in which we dealt with pressure late on, and the contribution of players that at the start of the season looked outside the first team.
Okay, with that said, then we'll move on to the next game, which was last night, which was the penalties win over West Brom,
which FK called on our predictions. He said it'd be 2-2 and we win on penalties.
Did he really?
He certainly did. And FK is going to start a Twitter campaign. He's been on the phone to number 10. He wants 10 bonus points. And John's already given him the answer, haven't you, John?
Of course, obviously.
Geoff, have you been DMing him the scores again?
Oh, me? No,
yeah.
He's done well there to dig that one out. His mum must have told him.
You're like the Oracle. Haven't you won isn't it something like 6 of the last 10 you've predicted the scores right on?
I'm on a roll, haven't I? Huh?
Oh, jam roll. I just
Yeah,
you are jammy, literally.
Power of G.
So, right, like I said, we'll go on to last night's game in the Cock Cup then. And for me, possibly one of the most boring games that's ended in penalties that I think I've ever cared to watch. I mean, Danny said that he actually died twice during the game. He was so bored. So, Ava, we'll go straight over to you. And how did you find last night's game?
It was boring, and eventually I ended up with nearly 4 heart attacks. But I wasn't that interested in the game itself. It was on, but I was doing other stuff around the house, and then in the last 10 minutes I sort of started paying attention.
You were watching Big Stars, Little Star, weren't you? It's ITV, 9 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know. It was boring, and we had a really young team out, and with Formala there as well. I don't know. I wasn't really that interested, to be honest.
No, I think there were a lot of people that didn't actually watch last night, which is, whenever you get the chance to watch Arsenal, whether it be streaming on the telly or actually going to the match, you've always got to, try and have a look at it. But yes, you're right. It was a very, very young team out last night. I mean, there'll be names that some people listening to this haven't heard of, like Zach Hayden. I thought he had quite a solid game, although people would actually say that he should have been sent off for a tackle he made on... I can't remember who it was, but he made quite a nasty challenge. Do you think he should have stayed on the field, Tim?
Yes, I do. I know what you're saying about challenges like that, but you sometimes it goes for you, sometimes it goes against you. I'm going to challenge the conventional thinking a little bit. I thought last night, well, it wasn't a brilliant game, but it was fascinating. I was intrigued by it and absorbed by it, partly because what it's going to tell us about how Arsenal are going to cope with this season in terms of who the backup is, how they're performing. To see Nicholas Bentner back, I mean, no one, you'd have got 1,000 to 1 on that 3 months ago, wouldn't you? Just, and it's sort of, we very quickly adapt back to this, to see that those are the players that we will be relying on in really key games later on in the season when the suspensions and the injuries and the fatigue and so on have kicked in. So I was kind of fascinated to see it. I thought he picked exactly the right team. Given the squad he's ended up with, he can't risk the first teamers, in my view. The congestion that comes in with this cup tournament, particularly if you reach that double semi-final in January, gets ridiculous. And I by the end, your blood's up. You want to win the penalties, but I was just really interested. And there were some good, encouraging performances by the youngsters, because the most important thing when they're young is, have they got attitude? Are they going to bottle it when they're put in front of big crowds and pressure? And I saw youngsters that didn't bottle it and have got some attitude for Arsenal. So I take a lot out of it.
Yeah, and another player that featured on the bench was, and excuse me for my pronunciation, but Alex Iwobi. And Danny, you know a little bit more on him, don't you?
Yeah, he was. I can't remember who he bought him from or got him, because he's still quite young. I think he may have been at Norwich. He was a winger for most of his. He's an England under-17 international. But I think he was born in Nigeria, because on one of the sites he's got a little Nigerian flag next to his name, and someone has compared him to being the next JJ Okocha. So if he's a quarter of the player that the mighty JJ was, we're not going to do too bad. But he was converted from a winger to play centre back. So before we signed him, I think he played one under-18 game for us, centre back, and he played one game, scored one goal. And that's how I thought of him. I thought, I don't remember seeing him around before. He's got the squad number 60, which I think is one of the highest squad numbers, and he was put straight onto the bench last night. So I thought maybe he might have got a game, because, I mean, what did Mertesacker ever do wrong to have to play in that? He's played every game for us apart from one this season, and he's played 2 games for Germany recently, and captain material. But yeah, this Alex seems like a very good young player who's... yet another one of them that is going to hopefully get more games. The longer that we have a run in the League Cup, the more games he might get. But someone brought up a question just right now on Twitter, which I think is quite an interesting question. It's by at JURIGOBBINI. It says, ask everybody, why was the captain Vermaelen wasn't involved in the penalty shootout, leaving it to the youngsters? Which I thought, that's a good point. Why didn't the captain take the penalty?
Geoff?
I couldn't answer that. Very strange. Maybe they fancied it. Some of these young kids, it's a good experience for them. It's not something they've experienced a big game like that, so to speak, before. And it was a good test of their resolve, wasn't it? And I must say they did fantastic on the penalties. The game itself was drab. Poor blimey, it was boring, wasn't it? And going into extra time, I think we were struggling a little bit. But then we put them young kids on. Chris Olsen, I'm a great fan of Chris Olsen. He's I don't know whether he's going to get a chance to play in the first team because now we're looking strong in midfield. But I think he's a really, really talented player. Doesn't really waste anything. He keeps it nice and simple, and he's got them good pictures in his head where he can slot a ball in every now and again. Hector Bellerin, who was a right back, he come on in centre midfield. He looked like a world beater when he come on, wasn't he? Different class.
Big fan of Bellerin, great player.
We looked really, really good when the young kids come on. We see a little bit of a rejuvenation. So it's all very, very positive. And it was a great experience for the young boys. Like Tim said, it's a fantastic experience, and they'll all grow from it for sure.
So, with that said, Geoff, and we'll go straight to John then. John, did you see anyone stand out for you in last night's game?
I think it has to be Hayden for me. I think he had a little talk with Flamini before he went out with that tackle. But aside from that, you're looking at a player that can play a variety of positions. I read that he can play right back or left back. He's a central defender, and then he was playing very well in a defensive midfield role last night.
No, and I think one thing we've definitely got to touch on, we'll keep it with you, John, is Nicholas Bentner. I thought he didn't have the best game.
Did anyone hear that? Someone in Chopsy, London shouting the C word. If you listen carefully, you can hear him screaming it.
Is that Mr. Gay?
He's butt naked, standing on the roof of his house, screaming obscenities in the direction of N5.
Doing the helicopter.
He's doing something.
Yeah, definitely. So John Bentner was he?
I don't think he had a bad game.
One goal, one assist. Can't argue with that.
I mean, you can't. You were never gonna think that he was gonna come in and score a hat trick. So after not being involved with our team for a better part of almost 18 months, 2 years. So I think he held the ball up well. He tried to link up play. Wasn't successful most of the time, but he attempted it. I think it had to do more with not playing with the people around him before than it was, bad plays from him. The only thing that I could mention as being faulty was when he had that run at goal and he waited, 5 years before he even thought about shooting. But aside from that, I thought he did well.
For me, he has stupid hair, he's got a stupid beard, and he's still shit. Ava, what did you make of Bentner's performance last night?
He wasn't that bad, to be honest, and he made me laugh by clattering into a post.
Yeah, that was hilarious, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. He does need a new haircut. No, he wasn't that bad. I mean, he tried to, and you could definitely see that he wasn't used to everyone around him. But he had an assist, and when the penalty shootout, he knew what he was doing, and maybe his arrogance came in handy because he didn't let him get to his head, and he just made a goal. He just scored.
Yeah, what I like about Bentner is his incredible confidence he's got, and he was really trying. I mean, he was doing a lot of running last night. He was trying very, very hard. Everything wasn't coming off. His play wasn't that brilliant, but like you said, he obviously getting used to the players once they get used to him as well, because he'll definitely be getting some game time this year, that's for sure. So, we've got to put up with him, and you never know, he might surprise us.
Geoff, it's not put up. I don't think even it's a surprise. This is an international striker who scored 40 goals out of 130 first team appearances. It's the second highest goal scorer Arsenal have in the current squad who scored goals for us. Okay, a lot new have come in. Because he's got a terrible attitude, or he did have, and because his time coincided with some real comical and relatively poor Arsenal teams, he was a bit of a lightning conductor for it. I agree it's not ideal that he's there, but he is there's a decent player in there, and with a bit of confidence, and in a team that is got the midfield now to put chances on for him, we could do a lot worse. If you want to laugh about strikers, think of the names Park and Shamak, not Bentner. I'm a bit more can-do about him, and anyway, let's be can-do because we haven't got any other choice, have we?
No, I agree though. I agree 100%. I'm not. I said the same. I think on the last podcast that I think he'll do a job for us. Like you say, he's got a great scoring record for Arsenal, and let's see how we get on with him.
How about this? The last season he scored for us in the Premier League was 2010-11, and his last Premier League goal was the 29th of December 2010 away at Wigan. And when he scored that goal, still at the club, was Lehmann, Van Persie, Clichy. Is Diaby still there, or have they had him put down yet? Fabregas was still there.
The only thing that does worry me about his scoring stats is, Danny, I think you could score 20 goals for Arsenal. I really do.
I tell you what,
because the way we play,
I've got a big fat bet.
I think you could score 20 goals.
But he scores important goals. If you remember, yes. he saved a couple of matches that we needed to qualify for Champions League in 2011, I think it was. So he his confidence is up there. There's no denying that. And in front of that midfield, he can spell Giroud when we need to, and still we're not giving up a lot, are we?
He must be good. Arsene Wenger gave him 52k a week.
Was that now down to 23k a week?
No.
No, otherwise we'd say thank you very much and goodbye.
So, we'll draw a line under that one unless anything. Anybody has anything else to say on that?
No, not really. I mean, I think the referee was a little bit card happy last night, which is a little bit annoying. But yeah, it's just nice to see that. I think Tim said that we've got another player there who was a bit Flamini-ish, coming in there wanting to kill people. And I was having a look when we were looking for the information about the Flamini's gouging eye out threats. I had to go and look at a Stoke site, and when the one thing they said is Arsenal with a tough tackling central midfielder, whatever next.
Haven't we missed that though for the last 4 or 5 years?
Yes.
We've missed it so much. I mean, all right, Flamini's one against Tottenham was a bit sore, and Hayden's one last night was a little bit sore. But listen, at least they're getting amongst it. They're winding it all up. We need that kind of player playing for us, because sometimes the tippy tappy doesn't work all the time. You need someone to get amongst them, and Flamini's organisation skills and his experience is invaluable.
There was one thing I did want to mention: the fact that Viviano, we probably paid about £1 million to get him on loan. So why is he now third choice keeper behind Flapianski? I thought he was a dead cert to start the game last night. That was a little bit annoying.
Yeah, I would have agreed with you. I would have liked to have seen Viviano in goal last night, but Flappy did a very good job nonetheless.
He did some. How about our little? Go on. Someone's going to say something.
I was going to say. I was going to ask a question to you guys. Who would you prefer, both being fit 100%? Arteta in midfield or Flamini in midfield?
Arteta. Well, I'd move Arteta forward and let Flamini.
Which is what exactly. That's what I was going to say. He's more in Everton. He was more of a playmaker than a holding midfielder. But for me, I think I would stick with Flamini.
Yeah.
Just the way he organizes everything. He keeps. I mean, there's always somebody there to help the center backs. And with Arteta, his pace is not the greatest. You saw that last night a couple times. Some people said it was due to his injury, just coming back from injury. But it's always been like that. He's always lacking for that pace at times, and puts our defense in troubles on occasion.
Yeah, if it ain't broken, why even try to fix it?
Plus, he's had experience of playing at left back and right back, and if people watch the game, you'll sometimes see Gibbs or Sagna go forward, and then other players have to cover. Now, I'd much rather have Flamini drifting out back left or back right to cover if one of those two has made a run, rather than have someone like Arteta, who is fantastic. And if he scored 6 goals playing defensive midfielder last season, just think what Arteta could do in our team playing the central midfield role. Because I'd drop Wilshere and play Arteta, because Wilshere for me isn't on the game at the moment.
No.
Right.
How about our theory, Gim, as to why we won the penalty shootout?
Yes. I believe the theory was that we won on penalties because we had 3 Germans in the starting lineup.
Hello.
Bearing in mind, in brackets, I put that Eisfeld wasn't actually on the field for the penalties, but nonetheless,
Yes.
3 Germans in a starting lineup.
That is the way to go.
Yes.
We do realise that a German missed a penalty, right?
Shh. Didn't happen. Poor old Gnabry, the look on his face. He's the one who I thought was definitely going to do it, but we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to go back. Started the 3 Germans, won a penalty shootout, job done. England should have more Germans.
Yeah, lovely stuff. I think, we'll end it on that lovely, fluffy note. Yes, anyway, we'll move on then. And one of the reasons we have Tim Payton with us this week is to discuss the latest finance released by the club. Can you give us a few facts and figures and tell us what they mean for the future of Arsenal Football Club, please, Tim?
Yeah, okay, let's have a look at the results. Came out on Monday. What these are the financial reports up to the 31st of May 2013. So in effect, they record last season. And some of the interesting highlights, well, we had £10 million of impairment cost. And you're saying, whose impairment? Think of it as an accounting term for write-offs or maybe rubbish. It's players that you can convince for taxman that have no longer got any value at all to Arsenal, and you have to write down their book value and or pay off their wages to get them to go away. So I expect that it includes Denilson, Shamak and Santos in that fee. But by writing it in as impairment costs, you take any pressure out of future accounts and kind of open up a bit more wage bill flexibility. We saw an overall cash figure of £153 million. That's how much Arsenal had in the bank on the 31st of May. You have to put some of that aside for debt allowance and working capital, and you end up with about 119 million. And obviously each month you pay out about £15 million in wages and other things. But it probably means that you could spend £80 million over the next 2 transfer windows. The AST analysis is £80 million for Arsene Wenger to spend over the next year. And that doesn't include wages, where he's got less pressure on his wage bill and more revenue coming in from the Emirates and Puma deal. And there, though, the one thing I would say, I think people are thinking the wage bill has fallen by too much. My own guess is that Ozil is on about 200k or £12 million a year. So he's our best paid player by almost double over anyone else, which is good. It's transformational. It's what we had to do if we're going to get a team right at the very top. But Geoff, that gives him lots of scope. £80 million in cash. And a bit of wages increase to come with new revenue to really go after some big players in January and June.
Yeah, come on, Geoff. Who are they going to sign?
It does, doesn't it? I don't know. I've no idea at the moment, mate. I think the shutters have been put down. I do believe they'll go back in for Suarez. Have another little pop in Christmas. So we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
What frustrates me, Geoff, we talked about this at the members' day, but it was pretty clear that the Suarez bid was dead in late July. Once JW Henry came out and said, what are those folks smoking at the Emirates? They weren't going to sell after that. We knew that. I was a supporter of Arsenal going after Suarez and doing that bid and so on. What I can't support them on, they had 6 weeks from the day that bid was in effect killed by Liverpool, and no one was signed to play up front in the 6 weeks, despite us now seeing that they had £153 million in total in the bank over the summer. It's just not right, is it?
Well, no, I understand. I think our first podcast, I think the same evening, I said I was very, very disappointed that we hadn't signed a striker. But, I think he switched from Higuain to Suarez once he was given that false information, as it turned out to be by by Guardiola's brother, the agent of Suarez. And you know what? After that stage, I'm sure they was in for other forwards, but if they're not for sale, there's not really a lot you can do about it. And I don't think he's going to go down that road of spending 10 or 15 million pound on a player just for another year. I think he wants to stock the money and go full blast in January or next August for. And I think he'll pay maybe he'd give 42 million pound odd for Ozil. I think he's going to be looking to spend between 40 and 55 million pound for a top class striker if there's one available.
So do you think that, seeing as we have a certain tie through the Ozil deal with Real Madrid, that in January we could try and force their hand for, say, Karim Benzema?
I'm not a lover of Benzema, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I think there's other strikers out there that I'd prefer someone like Lewandowski or someone like that. But we understand that he's signed a pre-contract agreement with Bayern Munich, so that I don't think that's going to happen. But there is strikers out there that are attached to clubs, and there's going to be strikers that appear on. I mean, Benteke, he might be even better this time. Come the summertime.
Oh, so you sound like Gav.
You never know. I'm not really a lover of Benteke either. I want to see how he performs this season. But if he does perform this season, then maybe he is worth £30 million or £35 million. John,
I was going to say instead of Benteke, I would love for them to go after Michu. I think he's a player that gives you such versatility, and he's a finisher. He can play a striker role. He can play on the wings. He can even play attacking midfield if need be. I think he's the type of player that will integrate easily into our club. And, from his performances, you can't deny that there's something there. I think people get overwhelmed with the names, when you start talking about a Falcao or a Cavani, those type of names. But Michu is a player that can come in and he can do a job, especially in front of that midfield.
I'll check it out there. How would you guys feel about a bid for Romelu Lukaku?
That's not going to happen. It'd be much like the Demba Ba situation.
Oh, he's a great player, though. Or I think another player that's kind of gone off the boil that could do a great job for us is Fernando Torres.
Ugh.
Oh no!
I think we've gone past players like that. He's gonna wait for a top class striker. I do think he believes that will create enough goals through other players on the pitch, like we did when we lost Van Persie. Really, we still scored plenty of goals. Our problem was at the time we conceded plenty as well. Now we've got Ozil with the fantastic passes and the assists that he's definitely going to give you. I think that he's looking for other players across the pitch, like Ramsey has done. He scored how many goals already this season? 6 or 7 goals. 7 goals, incredible. I mean, what price you could have got up with that? 2-3 months ago.
He'll be off to Real Madrid for 107 million next summer.
We're going to have to do. It just struck me. We're going to have to do a Clive Allen, Kenny Sansom, aren't we? I'm convinced that no big club in England is going to sell to their rivals for a long, long time, because they all watched what we did with Van Persie and saw the backlash and the impact, and they're like, no way, it's become a no-no. You don't sell to your rival. So we might have to persuade someone else. Like, I don't know if guys know the story of, Clive Allen, the £1 million striker who never actually played for Arsenal because we bought him and then swapped him back for Sansom. Maybe we'll have to get someone else to buy Lukaku or Demba Ba and then just nip in and buy them off there.
That happened with the Argentinian right back. What was his name?
Vivas.
Nelson Vivas. Yeah. The Argentinian club sold him to Lugano in Switzerland, and then we bought him off of him straight away, and that saved us a few £1 million.
Well, there was a lot of talk.
Well, I was saying what a ricket that was. He was rubbish for us.
And there's some suggestions that's what's gone on, isn't it? The Falco move.
Yeah.
Because Madrid wouldn't sell to Madrid. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say, and also with Aguero, but that fell through. The deal for Aguero fell through, and I'm not so sure. Seeing what Monaco's doing now and looking like they're going to be very serious about building that team, I'm not so sure the Falcao deal is going to go through either. So Real Madrid kind of lost out on those two.
There's a couple of things I want to clear up if I can. I like John's point about Michu. He's only 27. At Rayo Vallecano, he was very good there, 15 in 37. But the problem with that is they only paid £2 million. Swansea paid £2 million for him, and when we were sniffing around him this summer, what do they want? 24 million?
25.
Yeah, no one is ever going to go, you paid 2, I'll give you 24. That's never going to happen. But yeah, I'd like to see him there.
We do it all the time.
Yeah, Real Madrid did it with Anelka when they bought Anelka.
Right, we're never going to do that then. Yeah, I know. We've had to pay PSG 600,000 compensation, and then they gave us 23 million. I mean,
I think if Wenger was interested in Michu, he would have done it early. I don't think he's an option for Arsenal at the moment.
I think the problem is that unlike the past where we were hesitant to spend the money, I don't think it's going to be a hesitation to spend the money this time. I think it's going to be a situation where the striker may not be available at that price. And keep in mind that Chelsea's going to go out in the market, and everybody knows they need a striker, and everybody knows they have deep pockets. So we're going to be competing for a top level striker with our friends down the road, and they have a lot more ammunition than we do.
Tim, do you want to explain the Clive Allen, Kenny Sampson story? Because it happened in the 80s, and it's a really interesting story. Well, I think it's interesting because he only played 3 friendly games for us.
That's right. He was signed at the beginning of the summer wasn't it Arsenal's first £1 million signing?
Yeah.
And he played a couple of games in pre-season, and then suddenly he was swapped for Kenny Sansom, and it was a triangle with Palace and QPR, wasn't it?
Yeah, because one wouldn't sell to the other, so we were a middleman.
And it was always sort of brushed aside that Terry Neal had a look at him in pre-season and didn't fancy him. But that just doesn't add up, does it? No. You don't pay £1 million for someone and not fancy them on a couple of pre-season games. And I have asked Ken Fryer about this once or twice, and he always gives me the Ken Fryer kind of wink about you're not going to get that story out of me.
I know it's only £1 million. It's only £1 million, but back then
it was massive,
unbelievable. When world class, when top class English players were going for £500,000, when you spend £1 million on someone and then get rid of him 6 weeks later.
Funny you should say that. I saw Clive Allen about, it must have been about 18 months ago in a petrol station at Whitechapel, and he was in front of me in the queue ready to pay the bill for the petrol. I said, Clive, what happened about that Arsenal move? He just turned around, he winked at me and just said, don't worry about it, and walked out.
That's good.
So, that answered my question, really. I knew it was obviously crooked, wasn't it?
Got a question for Tim. You've got all the facts and figures there that they've released, and you said about the players that they've written off. Does it say, because I heard Danielson wanted 1.5 million to cancel the contract, that Santos did a gentleman's agreement and walked away, and I've no idea what happened with Shamak. Does that explain any more detail about that?
It tells us that there was £10 million written off this year, and that 4.3 million of that was wages, which means that 5.7 million is in effect value, assets in the book, because you give your player asset value, and then if in effect you're not going to get anything for selling them, you can write that down as an impairment in the book. But it doesn't tell you the individual players involved. The previous year they had one of £5 million, which we all assigned to Park, being written off quite early, but they don't break it down. The one thing I would say there, the idea that any footballer would like walk away for free, or to get out like you described as Santos, it's just fanciful. They sign contracts, they're entitled to the money, and they're going to get a deal to move on. What I would give Arsenal credit for is actually getting on and doing it, because the money's going to be paid whatever, but I just think it's a bit more decisive. It's a bit more about where we're heading. It means that the lineup in Colney and in the squad is only players that he actually wants to use and are going to be there. So I give them credit for clearing it up, but I think the benefit is more almost the psyche, the attitude that it creates, because financially you pay the same whether you move them on now or whether you leave them on the books until the contract runs out.
Oh, so go on, Gib.
No, I was just going to ask Tim a question. Tim, I read on Arsenal.com that Arsenal are subsidising the price of away Premier League tickets by £2.50 for the remainder of the season. This adds up to the equivalent of one free ticket, and the club saying, I quote, the initiative is part of Arsenal's ongoing drive to recognise the tremendous support it receives away from home. In fact, I've read that the Premier League has made available £4 million a season for the next 3 years, and this equates to £200,000 per season per club, and this is to be used for helping the away fans. I mean, my first question to you is basically, why are the club passing this off as their own scheme and not mentioning where the money has actually come from?
Good question that you could put to the club. Let me briefly explain it all. You remember last year the big fuss, particularly about the £62 ticket at Arsenal for the Manchester City fans and the Liverpool fans.
Yeah.
And then some people said, yeah, but what do we pay when we go there and so on? And actually, as part of the AST, I thought, hang on a minute, away fans, are getting screwed across the game now. Every game that Arsenal fans go to, we're category A. Everyone puts their price up and sees us coming. And we convened a meeting, the Arsenal Supporters Trust, with the Liverpool Trust, Spirit of Shankly, Manchester United, Spurs, Chelsea. And we agreed to work together on this. If we can put aside watching the team, we're all fans in it together. And we wrote a letter to the Premier League about away fans. And we wrote to Gazidis and challenged him to do more to help Arsenal fans who are paying these huge prices, 55 quid at Norwich, 52, I think, at QPR and so on. So we kind of got a campaign going. Then there was a march on the Premier League and a meeting with the Premier League. And it kind of like, well, who are the right guys to go on that? It's the BSM, the Black Scarf Movement. They've got some really good voice on this. So they went along on that march with some of their banners. And a good mate of GC's, Matthew, went in and met Richard Scudamore, the chief executive, and put some pressure on. And out of this campaigning and pressure, the Premier League instructed all clubs this summer to do more to help away fans, and told each of them that they had to spend £200,000, this was each club, on initiatives to make things better for away fans. And part of the Premier League's reason for doing this is, why does the Premier League sell so well around the world? It's because we're a country where we do have away fans, and you need that for the colour, for the atmosphere, to make the grounds a bit more edgy. Imagine how dull football would be if there were no away fans. We'd go for the tribalism, we'd go for the attitude and banter. So it's good what Arsenal have done, but I think they could have been a little bit more open about what had led to it and why this campaign had come about. But let's be pleased, it's going to be some cheaper tickets for Arsenal fans.
Oh no, I agree, and they're right in saying that we have some of their best away fans, if not in the country, in the world. And the other thing I wanted to ask you regarding what I said there is, why didn't they do that at the beginning of the season? Because by the time that will actually come into effect, which I believe to be, is it the Crystal Palace game? We would have already played 4 away Premier League games.
Well, I guess it's partly about them being organised to do it and have a think what they were going to do. Different clubs have gone for different options. I think Chelsea have taken 10 away games where they're going to pay the coach travel. So they've concentrated it in on fewer games. Some clubs have decided to take a Monday night game where you have to travel a long way, what you might call a particularly difficult game, and add a much bigger subsidy on that. I think Arsenal got it right in saying, well, every game sells out. So if we take a little bit off the ticket for every game, we'll give the biggest benefit to people who go to all of the games rather than concentrating in on one and just giving a big subsidy to those ones. They're also giving everyone, I think, a £10 drink voucher who goes to a particular game.
And how did you describe
what
that,
I do support it, they're going to spend some of it on making the away enclosure at the Emirates, just improving the facilities there. Because part of why I and the AST said we've got to get together with other trusts is this idea, in a way, that every club just treats the away fans like shite isn't good for football. Stick them in a corner, give them rubbish catering. You've got to actually realise that we're all in it together. The away fan is crucial. And so across the game, hopefully, we're going to see better facilities, a more friendly welcome. Because if we don't have away fans at football, it will ruin what is so brilliant about English football.
No, I agree.
Because when we were talking about this earlier, we had, I want to say thanks to Raj from the BSM, who we were looking at their site, so we had some questions for him. And then the other thing we had to look at was your own site, the AST one. I think is the fourth report down.
Yeah, that's right. The copy of the letter that all the trusts sent together and everything. And that shows, and you've been brilliant. You guys are brilliant because you give a platform to the fan groups and let us chat. But, we do make a difference. Look at the BSM and, the march and the profile they've given to how fans are looked after. The AST's been around a bit longer, pushing away at ticket prices. But these things, they wouldn't be giving this money back if there weren't supporters out there putting pressure on them and saying, enough is enough, time to recognise the fan a bit more.
No,
and if I may say, you can all join. Everyone's allowed to join. Even overseas fans can join. Is that right, Tim?
That's
Overseas
absolutely
fans can
right.
join?
If you go to the AST page and sign up, it's just £2 a month. And also, and I do recognise this benefits those more in London, but we have some fantastic monthly meetings where we get football lawyers, football agents. We've got, in the next couple of months, we've got a director of the FA, a board director of the FA coming to talk at a meeting. We've got a leading football economist coming to talk to us about Arsenal and Moneyball and everything. So it's really good value. But I'll let Geoff's a member rather than a deliverer, so it's really good.
I am honestly. I've had a great time, and all the meetings are brilliant. They're really, really informative about the club. And if you're into that kind of thing, if you love Arsenal that much, you really want to get involved and you want to hear what's going on from the inside, so to speak. They're really, really good meetings, and I'm delighted I've joined.
If anybody's wants to see the links to this on our website, at bergkampwonderland.co.uk, go to Twitter links, and then we have a heading Arsenal fans groups. So we've got the website and the Twitter address for the BSM, the AST, Red Action, and the AISA. And the AISA and Red Action have both said they are going to come on, and Tim said he'll come on as well and do a podcast just dedicated to all the stuff that AST do, like we did with the BSM, aren't you, Tim?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we also wanted to do is get a member of each of the groups together, do a big podcast and ask the questions. Because I mean, one of the nice things to see is that the groups are working together, and at the end of the day, we're all Gooners. We're all Arsenal fans, and we all want a better deal. We all want to go and watch our club, and share the good times together. And it's nice to see that our groups are working together and making the difference, like Tim's just said. So yeah, is there anything else you boys and Ava wanted to ask Tim?
So what's the quirkiest thing that you've seen that they've listed, Tim? I know, because before the pod we were talking, I said, have they listed the money they spent on goldfish like Leeds United did? Is there anything like that in there?
No, it's all very, very top line, and you have to really squirrel into it to try and find out what's going on.
So if people want to see these, where should they go?
If you go onto Arsenal.com and sort of where the news section is, there's actually a tab called Club, and it's under the Club section where you kind of get the more corporate information. And two of the stories there is the story about the reduced ticket prices for away fans, and a couple under stories under that. It's called the financial results.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to go and see that, that's it. Or they could
you
just
get
follow
the first
you.
Statement by Sir Chips Keswick.
Ah, bless him. 117 years old and still going strong.
Yeah, you go, Sir Chips. Right then, we'll move on and we'll get some predictions for the next game, which I believe to be Swansea away. And Danny, straight to you.
Oh, you go, you cheeky little monkey, you. Oh, I don't even know who's fit, who is not fit. I think it's going to be a draw because Swansea are a half-decent team. They recently beat, was it Liverpool or Man City? Last weekend.
Drew with Liverpool.
Oh no, it was Southampton that they lost to, wasn't it? I did this the other night. What an idiot! I think it's. Oh, pardon me. I think it's going to be 1-1, and I think the first goal scorer is. I'm going with Ozil again. I don't care. I'm going to keep picking him until he scores.
And Geoff?
Yes, I think we will come away from there with 3 points. We'll win 2-1, and Oliver Giroud.
And Geoff has copyrighted that, so no one is allowed to say it.
No, that's right.
So I know what they're like. Geoff's had to start DMing me his predictions.
They cheat.
Because they cheat. They're just cheats.
She wore and Lord Hillwood.
Oh, tell you what,
thick as thieves they are.
Can't trust them.
Did you say 2-1, Geoff?
I said 2-1 to Arsenal, yes.
And who's your first goal scorer? Because I'm going to write this down.
Olivier Giroud. Giroud.
And John?
I'm going to say 1-0 to us with Giroud as the first scorer.
Okay, and Ava?
I thought 2-1 to us as well, but I think Ramsey's the first one to score.
Fantastic. And finally, Tim?
I think it'll be 1-1, and I think who else is going to score but Aaron Ramsey? Tough game.
What are you booing him for?
1-1. Come on, he's an Arsenal man. We've
That's
got to
what
win.
I picked 1-1.
Oh, no, he never.
Oh,
It's
dear.
impatience.
I'm going 2-0 Giroud.
It's a tough game, Jeff.
It's a tough game.
After the Spurs game, it's probably the hardest game of the season we've had.
They got thumped 4-0 last night. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but look at the size that they weren't concentrating in that. Look at their European results and they're finding their form.
They got They beat Valencia 4-0.
They're a good side. Don't worry about that. They are a good side. They are, especially at home.
Still waiting, to see how Arsenal respond to that real test. What's interesting is great start to the season, but if you actually look at the equivalent matches from last season, i.e. playing the same team, we've got less points this year than last time. Not equivalent in terms of like how we've done after the first 5 games of the season, but we had a full 15 out of 15 this time last year from the games we played so far. And actually, I think Swansea was a win as well. But I'm just nervous about when the small squad catches up with us and some of the tougher games. But you can't argue with just win each game as it comes along.
It breeds the winning and the not losing.
Confidence.
It breeds confidence, and that's what makes winners. Yeah.
When are we going to do the few questions I got off of Twitter, Mr. Gimli?
Would you like to do them now?
Oh, what, the ones I got off of Twitter?
Yes.
I'd love to.
Go on.
Our good friend AFC_Fisher, who's a bit of a cheeky monkey, says, do you think we should play a strong team in the Cock Cup against Chelsea, seeing as it's a competition we should win? And that brings horrible memories for me to the day I decided to give up my season tickets after 20 seasons.
What was that, a 5-0 game or something?
No, I was at the League Cup final. Me and 3 mates paid 100 odd quid each to get down there. And then we saw once we got down there against a very, very strong Chelsea team that Wenger had decided to play half the kids in the team. And
we was unlucky, mate. Don't worry about it.
We went 1-0 up with a mighty Theo goal, and that dirty shitbag Drogba scored. Did us again. But I thought if he can't be bothered, I can't be bothered. So that was it. That was the turning point for me. I hope to go again one day, though. So what do people think? Should we play a full-strength team against Chelsea in the Cup?
No.
Yes.
We're going to get hammered if we don't.
Yeah, I think we should. Well,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You've got to look at the size of the squad. Look at even if you win that game, you hit these, as I say, you hit that quarter final and those 2 semi-finals over that busy Christmas period. If you get through, it's a bonus, and you keep putting the kids in it because it doesn't impact on the first team. But for me, exactly the team that he put out last night, because he's still got to protect the first team he's got. Every Premier League point is crucial, and we've still got to get out of a really tough Champions League group, and they're the priorities.
Anyone else got any views on that, Ava?
Yeah, I think
you're not Ava. Ava's the lady. Go on, Ava.
Me. I think it sort of depends on injuries. If we have loads of injuries like we do now, I think we should stick to the youngsters. If we don't have any injuries, which
it's unlikely.
Yeah, well, we're Arsenal, so that's not going to happen. I think we should combine it a bit, depending on how tired our first 11 are, and depending on how many injuries we have. But I do like the idea of youngsters getting a chance, especially in the Carling One Cup.
I think he's going to have to, against Chelsea, I think he's going to have to sprinkle it with some experience as well, because I think we could get embarrassed. Their second team would come in the top half of the Premiership anyway. So we've got home advantage, so hopefully that will go in our favour. But if we sprinkle a two, maybe place, maybe someone like Santi, and a couple of others, I think we'd be all right. I think we'd be all right against Chelsea.
No, I think we have to play the first team, otherwise we'll get fucking mullered.
No, absolutely not.
No, I genuinely think we do. If you put out that team that you played last night, we will get absolutely spanked. Nicholas Bentner up front, when they can field a team of just midfielders.
Well, you say that. This is the team.
First team midfielders.
The team Chelsea played away at Swindon. Schwarzer, Cahill, David Luiz, unpronounceable Azulu. How do you say his name, John? The AZPI bloke?
Azpilicueta.
Oh, all right. Yeah, don't rub it in. Bertrand, Essien, Willian, De Bruyne, and Van Ginkel. Oh, sorry, Ava. How do you say that?
Van Ginkel.
Ah, there you go. And Fernando Torres and and Mata. There you go. That's the sort of stuff we're gonna end up facing. So I think we could get screwed over. John, did you have a question for Tim about the finances before I move on to the next Twitter question?
Not about the finances, but this Gatorade deal that they announced.
Oh, I saw about that today.
Yeah, if he knew any details of what that entails, or is it only kind of those partnerships that Gatorade does, where they provide the Gatorade for free and that sort of thing. Like a sponsorship that they do in the States.
Yeah, as I understand it, it's a small sponsorship deal that's primarily about providing the product and getting some in-stadia use. It won't be much more than six figures in terms of its value to the club. As you'll probably know, that every single club has got an official sports drink supplier. So there's not a lot of money in it, because what they tend to do is spread themselves around so that there's a presence at every club rather than, going for an exclusive with a big one. It's good that it's ticked off on the list, but it will probably, the money we've got in for it will probably pay Nicholas Bentner for a fortnight.
Okay. I think, Tim, what was the chances of them being their sports drink sponsor being on Bungo?
And if there's any vegetarians listening, Gatorade is not made with real alligators.
Of course, a few years ago, our sports drink sponsor was probably like Carling.
Or Cresta Lemonade. Who remembers that? We could have been sponsored by them.
Cheeky. Every time we have any of the Bristolians on, you always get them to say Curly Whirly.
Yes.
Is Ava's one going to be...
Urdy-gurdy.
No, it's Van Ginkel, because you...
Say it again, Ava.
Van Ginkel.
Oh, bless you.
Oh, dear, that's quality.
Oh, I've embarrassed myself.
No, Danny.
Hey?
You said De Bruyne, or whatever you said. It's De Bruyne.
De Bruyne.
That just sounds dirty.
Oh, you want an exclusive on sponsorships?
Go on in.
It's not much of an exclusive, but I think that you'll find the Puma deal going public, i.e. it's actually happening, and some colour and look in December.
Ooh. Hello. So that'll make Steve happy, because he's in that kind of area of knowing about stuff, and he says, they won't be announcing it too soon. What do you think? That'll be mock-up of kits and stuff, or?
I doubt it at that stage, but it will be a lot of song and dance. There's very strict contractual arrangements with Nike, obviously, because if you announce it formally too early, no one buys the kit for the final year. Because remember, all these people rushing out to buy their kits at the moment, they will all become redundant in look and style at the end of the season. So they have to find a compromise, and I understand it will be in December. But whether we'll see colours and designs or whether we'll just see lots of corporate explanation, I'm not sure.
Now, talking about kits, I found my Double Winners team kit from 1998 under my bed. I bought a new bed, and so it's in the drawer underneath it with two pairs. Remember the light blue and dark blue stripy socks from about 99, 2000, something like that? Found those as well.
Yeah.
Lovely. That's the last kit I bought, 98. Anyway, moving this Gooner Love train along. Our good mate Alonso Spencer from your mate, from Texas. What did you say to him last time, John?
I don't remember.
Something about Longhorns, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, hook 'em horns.
See, we thought you'd been dirty, but apparently that's not.
No, it's from the University of Texas.
What does that mean?
It's a play, on up the arsenal, but, for the college team there.
Hey.
I thought it was the American dogging call.
Anyway, Alonso asks, how do you feel about Bentner's performance during yesterday's game? I know we've covered it a little bit, but I know everyone's very down on him. I have a lot of time for Bentner. I think he's got lovely hair. He's got some nice tattoos. He does a superb range in jewellery. Anyone from Scandinavia, I always think that's always an interesting point. And I hope this season he gets himself plenty of chances and scores some goals.
And the phone line has just lit up. Gav, you're on the line.
Bleep, bleep, bleep.
Have you got something?
Has anyone got anything else they want to add about Bentner and his performance?
I think he's rubbish.
I want him to do well. I know that sounds stupid. I used to be a big Nicholas Bentner fan before he turned into that cocky twat. I'm sorry.
I think that's the least of our worries, saying cocky twat.
Yeah, we promised no swearing.
That's swearing. Go on.
Now he's back and he's apologised and he scored a penalty and he clattered into a post. I just want him to do well. I really do. Not just for him, but for us as well. And as long as he's wearing an Arsenal shirt, I will always support him.
Well said.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. You always got to support anyone that puts on the Arsenal shirt. However, it doesn't change my feelings on him that he's an absolute.
He's got to play well though, because he's in the shop window, isn't he? So
Well
he's got to try his best.
He wants to get in the Denmark team for the World Cup, and he wants a new contract somewhere next year. So he's got an incentive personally as well as for the team.
Yeah,
Try, mate.
How about this for kind of a different take on this? Let's say he comes in, does his job, scores 15 goals this year. Do you give him a contract?
Oh,
I
Jesus,
drop
now
him
you're pushing.
from a very great height.
Would you forgive him if he scored the winner that won us the league, and then he wants a contract? Would you give him one?
Yeah, of course you would. Of course you would. I put a statue outside, mate. We can have the next statue if we win the league, gladly.
I'm sure we could buy Fulham's statue of Michael Jackson off of them, seeing as they've just got rid of it this week. Put some long hairs and Alice band on it, and a bit of fluff on the face. We could sell that as Nicholas Bender outside the ground, couldn't we?
Well, all I'm going to say, he has scored more goals than Giroud, Santi, and Ozil put together and doubled. So that makes
only because he's been there since the beginning of time.
Makes him a better player. Now shut up. My next question is from @Dave Mr. Lean, Mrlean. He says, who would the panel like to see replace Liam Brady after this season? Hasn't he gone already?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So who would you like to see? Go on, Tim.
That's an interesting one. I think you have to be careful of here, and in many ways, Brady fell into this trap. Just because you are a brilliant world-class footballer doesn't necessarily mean you're the right place or the right person to run an academy. Football has moved on so much now. Running an academy is like running a school, and the person to head that up has actually got to be someone who's fantastic at development. Now, that might well be a fantastic former player, but if you look at most clubs and most setups, the person in charge isn't, a former world-class player. They tend to be more tucked in as director of football or on the boardroom. Arsenal had huge problems with their academy, nearly didn't get accredited under the new Premier League EPPP rules. Brady going, I think, was part of that. It's a really, really important appointment, but I just hope they get someone that will run a really good infrastructure up there, because it's not been performing or delivering for a few years now.
Oh, Geoff, who would you like?
Well, I agree with exactly what Tim said, really. In an ideal world, I would love someone like Dennis Bergkamp to come back and do that kind of job, but I think he's gone above that already now, so that's not going to happen, is it? Maybe someone like Martin Keown would be suitable for the job. He talks a good game. He's played a lot, at Arsenal. He knows the club inside out. Whether he'd want to do something like that, whether he's passed his coaching badges, etc., I'm not sure of. But someone in that vein that can take us on, and like Tim said, someone that's worthy of the job and can do the job properly.
And plus, he's got a monkey's head, which is always important. Ava, who would you have? Please say Bergkamp and De Boer. I'm not going to say De Boer because I probably pronounced it wrong.
De Boer and Bergkamp. But I do agree with that. I've
had a moment.
I want them at Arsenal, both of them. I don't think it's going to happen, but I do want that.
What Dutch team do you? Because you are Dutch, aren't you?
I'm half Dutch, yeah.
Were you born there? I mean.
I was born, yeah. In
so do you have a Dutch team then?
No, my grandfather is probably the biggest gooner you would have ever met. And I don't think I would be allowed to actually support a Dutch team.
Oh dear. Yeah, because I've not really got a Dutch team. I keep an eye on the Dutch leagues, but my team would be Ajax because of those two. But this season they have been absolutely abysmal.
It's Ajax.
Maybe Dennis Bergkamp would be good in that role because it would be the height of the ambition of what he could do at Arsenal, because he can't come and do any of the other important jobs for us because he's got this huge problem that he won't get on an aeroplane. Yeah. And you can't be involved with top level international football with a club like Arsenal now if you won't fly anywhere. We even fly to Norwich.
I think that's the shittiest reason ever.
Yeah, but I've never flown, and I never really want to fly, and I'm 42, and I'm never ever going to get in a plane. It's not natural. If a plane crashes, I can't fly. If a boat sinks, I can swim. So I'm with Bergkamp on that one. John,
you'd sink. That's the problem. You'd sink, Danny.
Everyone else will hold on to me for buoyancy. John, who would you pick, John?
Now we have Sol at the club right now getting his coaching badges, don't we?
Sol Campbell.
Yeah.
Is he? I didn't know that. Did you hear him on Match of the Day though? He was abysmal.
Was he?
He was.
I'm a big fan. So for me, if I read correctly, he was at the club to get his coaching badges. So I'd have soul.
Because you got to have soul.
Exactly.
Right, so now that Gimli is having a bit of a trouble with his phone, this is why I've been talking more than I usually do. Oh, come on, Gim, it keeps saying it's engaged. How can you be engaged?
Got any more questions for us, Danny? Or is that the last of them?
I think that was the last one of them. This bit I'm going to have to...
I actually saw a fun question.
Oh, go on then, Ava.
Askuner Loidash AK asked, if you had to have a man crush on any Arsenal player, who would it be?
I can't answer a question like that.
Oh yes, you can. Come on.
I can't. There's not a dark side bone in my body, so that's it. Bone.
I'm exactly the same. I just can't think that way. Honest to God.
I wouldn't know where you would start to try and pick someone. I mean, I always thought Tom Selleck's mustache was nice, so maybe because I've now got my own. I've got my winter beard going, and I look like Grizzly Adams.
Can I give you just a hint?
Yeah.
Go for Giroud.
Giroud? Oh no.
He's making lesbians straight. Come on.
He's got dodgy skin though. Are you back with us, Mr. Gimli?
Yeah, I am.
We've been covering like you've not even been there, so like you have been here. And Ava's just had a question about. Ask him the question, Ava. He'll definitely have one.
Gig's definitely got one.
Yeah, he's probably got a whole list of them. Go on.
If you had to have a man crush on any Arsenal player, who would it be?
Don't tell him who we said either.
Oh, what? Sorry?
We've all picked one. Who would you pick?
They haven't said anything.
Oh, don't tell him that. Oh, no.
Ruined it. I think you have to get GC on for this question because he's always into this subject. He's always banging on about it.
I'll tell him and his gay pride, you can't shut him up about it.
Exactly. I don't want to steal his thunder. Ask him it next week.
I did have a question from AFC Glenn, who's a big friend of the show.
Who is also a lovely moustache wearer. I'm just talking about David Seaman's moustache and my own lovely winter beard. I look like Grizzly Adams' arse.
It's linked in lovely then.
Yeah.
And he asked, what did we make of the Gay Gooners banner at the Emirates?
Not seen it. But they get my full support, bless them.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Tim?
Each to their own, mate.
Yeah, I think that's great. Why not? And are we the first club to do that? If we are, then that's even better because we're often the first club to do things and good luck to it.
As long as we can embrace people from all cultures, all nationalities, we are a football club that appeals to the world. Sexualities, nationalities, whatever.
Yeah. I think Mr. Gay would agree with us 100%.
I think he would because he's a lovely man.
If I have to put up with some of my followers on Twitter, I'm sure we can suffer a gay pride banner or whatever it is inside the Emirates Stadium. Trust me.
How does gay pride go down in Spain, John?
This is one of the most liberal places. They have a gay pride parade, and they bring in a bunch of huge acts and the whole bit. I think they're pretty. It is what it is.
Well, what he's trying to ask you is what's a poking and a shaking in España?
Arsenal have for quite a long time. They have a fans forum that meets occasionally, a kind of selected forum that does this round table with Gazidis or one of the executives. And I haven't been to one. Steve goes to that for the AST, but they've got a position for someone to represent gay fans. And I've always kind of thought one way I thought, well, that's good. But on the other hand, I thought, well, why does it matter whether you're gay or not? It's about ticket prices. It's about whether they're doing the right thing with a shirt. It's about how they're using the finances. But then I can see the point of view about being inclusive and giving everyone a voice. But they have actually had that position and that recognition. And I suspect that it's out of that position that this initiative has come.
Personally, I'd like to see them put the old, the rainbow markings around the sleeve of the shirt instead of like the blue and the red.
For that.
Yeah, no, basically just the bands around the bottom of the shirt, like they've got the laces. I know that Gav would be a big lover of that idea as well.
I heard that every pair of Y Fanciers are multicoloured. They're yellow at the front, brown at the back.
Well, he's so gay, isn't he? It's true.
Gay being a term for happy.
Happy, yeah.
Gay war. Gay war.
Yes.
Gay wore a yellow ribbon.
Gay wore a yellow ribbon, that's him.
Right then, we'll move on. And can I have some shout-outs, please? Danny, save this podcast from the brink, please.
Right, I will say someone we've spoken to a lot. Ozgunner, who is at Ozgooner49. He was giving me some good advice on my knackered elbow because I've done the ligaments and the tendons in my right elbow, and it's giving me some grief. So he was giving me some advice on that and what to do. Cheers, mate. Jessica DeMarca, who I'm sure we all know, she's a bit of a cheeky minx, and she does wonderful Breaking Bad pictures. And she's put them all over her Twitter. She is at JDIMARCA. And then another bloke who I just put a little thing on Twitter saying, does anybody want my final shout? And it is someone we all know, D Hammy 1971, who's a bit of a cheeky monkey himself. Hello, sir.
Fantastic. And over to John.
I only have one. For Russell at Dynamite_76. Big Gooner has some great insight, and we always have really good chats.
And Geoff?
All my Twitter followers, I'd speak to so many. I don't think it's fair to single them out.
Don't discriminate.
Don't discriminate, mate.
Yeah, exactly. And Ava?
I only have one. It's a Dutch Gooner at MMA_Gooner.
Fantastic. And finally, Tim?
Oh, I love them all. Keep sending me the wonderful friendly messages, all of them. That's my message.
There is one I forgot. I just looked on my Twitter and I said to him the other day that I would, and he's actually screen grabbed it, put it up and said, "Oi, don't forget Arsenal Burns, who is at Arsenal Burns." Hello, Gov, and there you go. I promised I'd do it, and I did. I've had 4. I feel very rude and cheeky, a bit gluttony, a bit like cake. If I'm around, I have it all.
Just before I do my one, Tim, just a question. One last question to you. After the last podcast you did with us, that was of course the Patience podcast. How many tweets of abuse did you get for that podcast?
To the nearest million.
There was a low point, wasn't there, where everybody was losing their head and panicking.
Yeah,
and it probably coincided with about that period. Of course. After the Aston Villa game, it was decided that it was all mine and John Cross's fault, and that we hadn't bought any players, that we should go and sort it out. All resign, Payton. You're talking bollocks, which is true. Actually, I do most of the time. It got very lively over the summer, didn't it?
Yeah,
Chris Hudson.
But I'm sure you agree, Ozil was worth having patience for.
Definitely was. And John Cross will be on this show in a couple of weeks' time.
He's a legend.
Yeah, he is. I can't wait to have him on.
I was listening to him on Talk Sport on Sunday, the show. They have a 2-hour show. He was on there, and he's comes across as a very nice bloke. I hope people see that when we see Tim on TV when he's doing like Arsenal Vision or other stuff, he is quite lovely. But when he gets on a podcast like this, he's a bit of a cheeky chappy, aren't you, Tim? I hope people get to see that. Like with Geoff, people don't really understand how funny Geoff can be and how he takes everything with a bit of a pinch of salt, all this winding up and the grief that he gets. Don't you, Geoff?
No, I don't. Honestly, I skin like a rhino, Danny. It doesn't bother me.
You bronzed Adonis, you.
Guys.
Yes.
Jack Wilshere just tweeted he had another baby girl, Delilah Grace Wilshere, and our under 21s versus Fulham is a goalless draw.
I never even knew Jack Wilshere was pregnant.
Lauren knew.
That explains his bloated ankles.
Fair enough.
So he's had himself a daughter, has he? Well, my advice to him, when she gets to 15th birthday, just leave the country, because my one's turned into a little shit.
Oh, I thought you were going to get a bit rude and drop a C-bomb then.
Oh, God, no, I couldn't refer to my own daughter as that. She's permanently got her hand out asking for cash, and now I've said no.
It gets better, don't worry.
I hope so, because it can't get much worse.
Well, I mean, like, she's going to ask for more money, but she'll move out.
No, I don't want her to move out. I need someone to do the washing up.
Right. We'll wrap this up then. My shout out for this week is to Aaron Savage 25. He's a really lovely guy, and he's going to be on this podcast in the next couple of months. So a big hello to him. All that's left for me to do is thank everybody on here tonight. Danny, Geoff, John, Ava and Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Joy.
It's been an absolute pleasure. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and keep it Arsenal. Good night.
Nanu, nanu, cheeky monkeys. Oh, no swearing, lovely.
Right.